And right now, investigators are working to piece together Madeline Soto's murder. The 13-year-old teenager was found dead in rural Osceola County on Friday. The prime suspect, Maddie's mother's boyfriend, is behind bars this morning. This investigation has been a multi-agency effort, as you know. Officers and deputies from Orange and Osceola counties work together, hoping for a positive outcome, but prepared for the worst. Maddie's case ultimately ending in tragedy. Joining me in studio now to discuss the death investigation is former Orlando Police Chief Orlando Rolón. Chief, thank you so much for being here. It is always good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
This was just such a massive search effort, and for those of us in the media who do these kinds of stories all the time, and for you as former police chief, walk me through kind of the stages and how, when we all kind of knew that this was not going to end the way that we had hoped it would.
So when the first officer arrives through the process until the investigators come on the scene, there's a lot of information that's being collected, and based on that initial information, that sets the stage for the things to come. In this particular situation, it was clear that something was not right, and through the process of collecting evidence, to include video evidence and what have you, that also created more of an urgency, or actually set the stage for what was then said, that the outcome of this investigation was not going to be a good one.
One of the things we noticed is that the morning that the announcement was made that Madeline's body had been found, the family had stopped talking. Does that indicate that perhaps the night before they were told, which we now know, that this was not going to end the way that we, of course, wanted it to end? And with the family not speaking out at all, and then this discovery being made, it kind of was strategic, I think, on the part of the police to say, listen, we're going to keep you quiet, but then we're going to make this announcement. And that's typically how it works when you know that this is going to be the end result.
Yes, you have to take into consideration how any messaging will affect the family, the survivors. And in this particular case, I think it was the right move, you know, to inform them of what was going to happen, and of course the outcome that was announced. The
thing I think is so sad is that we're all human beings. I say this all the time as a journalist. There are some stories that, even though, you know, we obviously have to be objective, we are human beings and they still affect us. Talk about the mental toll that something like this takes on the officers who are probably parents themselves, and how this can affect them.
Like you said, we're all humans, and officers are human beings that have families and can relate to what the agony that someone is experiencing when they lose someone. So it's tough, but also think about this. They're also trained to deal with these situations. In other words, they're exposed to a lot.
Right.
Everyone has a limit, but they're exposed to a lot, and therefore that is why they're most prepared to handle these type of cases. But everyone must keep themselves in check to ensure that it doesn't affect them to the point where later on it could be detrimental for their career.
I want to talk a little bit about the mom Zoom interview. Two things stood out to me with that. The first one was that she said we dropped her off, we, and then she kind of switched to I. And then he was in the background of that interview kind of cracking his knuckles and looking fairly nervous and that kind of thing. And I think, you know, everybody's kind of antennas were raised during that interview. Do you think that police looked at that as well and kind of said, okay, something kind of is not right here?
I can assure you that the law enforcement agencies that are involved are looking at everything, and nothing has been discounted at this point, and the investigation is ongoing. That's one thing that everyone must keep in mind. Everything that to the law enforcement agency, the lead agency investigating this case, may find to be suspicious or needing further clarification, that will take place.
You said the investigation is ongoing. What could that include?
So, of course, there is the evidence that is now being collected, or has been collected, where unfortunately the body was found. There is additional evidence that was collected from the scene, forensic evidence, video evidence. I mean, there's a slew of things that have to come together in order for them to formulate a conclusion, or at least present what they believe is a conclusion to what led to her death. With that said, everyone involved, the family members, friends, and anyone who may have had any contact with the person responsible, will be will be part of the investigation. So all of that has to be filtered through before eventually the state attorney and the prosecution sees the evidence or gets the evidence and determines what next step must be taken.
And very quickly before we go, it may be hard to determine, but generally in cases like this, what is the time frame? What is the time frame until perhaps it goes to trial?
Time is of the essence, right. But eventually and ultimately it'll be up to the prosecution to determine when is that best, and also for the court system, the judicial system, to determine when those things will take place.
Chief Rolón, always good to talk to you. I feel like we never have enough time. Thank you so much.
Good to talk to you too.
It's good to see you. Thank you.